Hello, and welcome to Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, covering political and social issues one liberty at a time, with entertaining insights of current events and important discussions on topics that affect us all, shining the torch of liberty and brightening the future by bringing libertarianism into our everyday life. And now, your host, the friendly neighborhood libertarian, Jason Lyon, Mr. America, the Bearded Truth on Muddied Waters Media.
Oh boy, am I excited for another wonderful Monday night. And to be here with you all, I'm so excited. Thank you guys all so much. As the intro goes, of course, I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. And while I'm giving thanks, let's go ahead and give a thanks to, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Wright and Spike Cohen. I don't know who that second guy was, but for giving me an opportunity to come here on Muddy Waters Media to give me a platform to talk about my opinions, my views, and my perspective on what's going on out there to help hopefully make a difference for the betterment of our society and our future. Tonight, I've got an incredible man. I met this guy through previous work endeavor and truly revolutionized the way that I look out across the world. This guy has made such a large impact, and I know I've said this about a couple of guests in the past, but this man, Sean Grehalva, he has left a lasting impact in my life, my wife's life, and everyone around me. Just truly an incredible man. So I'm excited for him tonight. So thank you, Sean, for giving us time tonight to come on here. But before we get into that, I should probably already have had them up, but I don't. We have to get into our advertisements. The people who pay the bills around here. There we go. I've got it up now. I've got it up. So let's get into the first one, of course, with Mr. Jack Casey himself. The Royal Green series by Jack Casey. It's a story of authoritarians and revolutionaries, a young man and a woman seeking independence and meaning in a kingdom on the brink of civil war. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Romance, espionage, action, and psychological drama, elements of horror and mystery and spirituality as well. Dark fantasy with magical realism and libertarian overtones. Themes of forgiveness and redemption, written by the author while he himself was undergoing his own journey to find liberty and answer deep questions on his own mind. So make sure you guys hop on over there to theroyalgreen.com. Give them some love. Gotta give it up real quick. Gotta give it up to, yes, Mr. Alex Flores. If you guys are out there currently right now, it is limited to Arizona, but it will be expanding out to nationwide. With the shuttering economy in 2020, Alex Flores saw a need. So being the good libertarian that he is, being the good agorist that he is, he knew that people were needing roadside service, needing tune-ups, needing oil changes. And with the economy the way that it was going because of COVID and the government's reactions, he stepped in and to give some support, give some help. So a mobile auto repair service that is pay what you can, pay what you want, figure it out. He's given $500 oil changes, and he's given oil changes for free because you, the customer, you, the consumer, get to set the price on what you think is the right cost or what you can afford. So think about that the next time that you're going out there and you're paying a lot of money for services that are really cheap or really, really easy to be done. If you're in the Arizona region, go ahead and give Alex Flores a little bit of love. Give him a call. You can go over to greasyporcupines.org to find out more, to show him some love, and to get in on that. And then, of course, we've got the wonderful, amazing Ashley. Fierce Luxury is a high-end bag and accessories consignment store based online. They carry the hottest brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci, and Hermes. Consign with them for a 30% fee, 20% less than other consignment stores. Find them online at fierceluxurybyashley.com and on Facebook in their exclusive group, Fierce Luxury by Ashley. So make sure you guys get on over there, help her out. You're a lady yourself and you're looking to get that sleek fleek new purse, new clutch. or you're a fella and you have not figured out that it is November 1st right now and that Christmas is coming up. Either way, get on over to Fierce Luxury, go and get you some of that good stuff. This person, I don't know if they have any direct relation to me, but okay, it's my wife. But without the nepotism, the clear nepotism that we have here, you guys, if you guys are a business owner, if you guys are planning an event, if you're throwing a birthday party, whatever you're doing, you could always use a great graphic designer. This is somebody who can provide you with cards, with logos, with websites, with just the full branding kit. So you can join up with the ranks of Joe Jorgensen, of Spike Cohen, of Natalie Bruno, of Ashley Shade, of countless candidates, libertarian candidates across the country, Republican candidates, Democratic candidates. She's served them all. She's served big businesses, small businesses, every business in between, and they all say that you need to go on over to KelseyLionDesigns.com. Go show her some love, and of course you could help support the family. But without further ado, I do need to talk a little bit more about Muddy Waters Media, because Matt and Spike gave me this platform, so why not give a little back? First of all, whether you're listening on Facebook, on YouTube, on Float, on Twitch, on there we go. Yep, nailed them all. Thank you so much for listening live. If you're not listening to live, if you're listening to after the fact on a replay on one of those, appreciate you very much. But you can also take us on the go, take us to the gym, take us wherever you want to, and you can find that, of course, on your favorite podcast app. Wherever you are seeing us, wherever you are hearing us from, make sure you guys are showing some love. Give us those 5-star reviews. Help us support us. Share it out with your friends, your families, and get us big and beefy the way that you want all of your waters that happen to be muddy. And of course, you could become a supporter, help out the team by getting on over to anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe. Help out, join in for a low price of just a couple lattes. I think it's actually would be like 2 lattes, depending on if you go to Starbucks or not, a month. So just cutting out 2 lattes a month. You can be a subscriber, help out, get exclusive content, hear a bunch of stuff that no one else gets to hear. Become the boss. Tell me what you want to see. We've got a couple guests lined up that we're getting scheduled, and that's because of subscribers. So you can get on over there and join in on that. So make sure you guys get over there. And of course, if you want to be repping Muddy Waters Media, get on over to muddywatersmedia.com/store. Get the merch. Get the gator, get the face mask, get the bottle, get the phone case, get the shirts, get the Spike Cohen merch, get all the merch. Start repping us, show us some love. Appreciate each and every one of you. And you know, the people who wear our merch, the people who subscribe, we love you just a little bit more than everybody else, but we still love everybody. So get on over there. But without further ado, now that I've probably droned on too long, he might be asleep on the other end. I have, and I kid you not, this is a man that when I first heard him, I actually saw him kind of similar to the way you guys are seeing me. The first time I saw this man was through a camera. He was at HQ, and I was in a remote area, saw him, he was talking about stuff, and I was like, man, this guy's got it together. He's got to be old. No, he's youngin', and he's got it down. Met him in person, fell in love with this dude, and just his mannerisms, his intelligence, his well-roundedness, just a wealth of knowledge, and I hope that you guys are going to love him just as much as I do. But without further ado, let's bring him on. Mr. Sean Grehalva. There he is, nice and sleepy. You're still muted, my bud.
Aha, there we go. The mute button.
That is the 2020 call, I think. You're still muted. How's it going, man?
It's been going all right. I was this past week has been pretty great. I was able to get back together with some friends, some great liberty-minded individuals. They're doing amazing things across the country, and it was like the recharge that I needed. And I cannot adequately express just how great that was. So, coming into Monday, it was a rough weekend. Kiddo was definitely sugar high and hardcore yesterday.
Yeah.
And then, just getting back to the grindstone today. And I'm just here and ready to get back to work, How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad. I'm so thankful that you took the time out of your schedule to come on here tonight. He may have told me in the pre-show that this is his first podcast that he's coming on. So
you're not supposed to tell people that. Right?
This is his 10,036th podcast that he's been on. So you guys love him and cherish him. Find him on all the other podcasts that he's been on. If you find them, send them to me, of course. But it's truly an honor to be that. And I'm so excited for this. You're actually, and no joke, you're actually somebody that the way that you present yourself, as long as you do what you do, like you're already way better than the Mr. Bearded Truth by far. So your league's ahead. So I'm just, I don't know.
You're certainly winning in the beard game right now. That's for sure.
It comes with the title. It's best beard on Muddy Waters Media. So it's got to come with something. But tonight, so you've been somebody that has been working on the legislative side of things. You've been working on the grassroots side of things. You work on foreign policy a lot. You work on just literally every aspect of kind of what society sees while being the faceless man in that, right? And so I reached out to you and I was like, Sean, I love you so much. I got to have you on. And I wanted to bring you on specifically to talk about veteran issues. And here's something that I may not have told you, but this is what's so exciting for me, is because there's a stigma that I want to break here. Because you're somebody that I've leaned into to ask questions about when it comes to foreign policy. You're somebody that I've leaned into to ask about the veteran community on issues. This is a veteran coming to a non-veteran. You're somebody who's never been able to take that oath of signing up to your life and putting that on the line, but you're somebody who needs to be heard, and you have such an aura of grace and intelligence and well-roundedness when it comes to these conversations. So I wanted to comment.
Well, I'm glad I had you fooled.
But I wanted to have you come on just to be able to break that stigma for so many people. And I wanted to put that out front for the audience, because as you guys listen to what you talk about, right, your empathy on these issues, your understanding, your grasp of it all, the holistic approach to all of this, doesn't mean that you have to be directly a part of the community. But I could see you sitting down with a group of veterans and blending right in. So you're the honorary veteran for the night, and I love you and I appreciate you. So having you on tonight talking about veteran issues, we're going to be talking about a couple things. I'm so excited for this. We're going to start with kind of sticking to the veterans issues, and then later on in the episode we're going to move on over to kind of the active duty and kind of moving into the more current events, and then maybe even get into some serious current event of what's been going on. But the veteran thing, that's something that's near and dear. We've had discussions on this podcast in the past over healthcare. So the veteran healthcare, how is that compared to the rest of the country's healthcare, from your perspective and from what you've been working on?
So what I can tell you is that, I've got a lot of friends, family members, loved ones that have either gone into harm's way themselves, or, they've served in all sorts of different ways. And for me, I have seen the level of courage and love that these folks have been able to show through their actions by volunteering time and time and time again to go out and do the mission, do the job. And it's, for me, it was something that, looking back now at the ripe old age of redacted, we're just not going to talk about that. But it's something that I really wish that had the decision earlier in my life to go ahead and sign up and be a part of it. But the reality was that in my life, I just didn't get there. And I can sit here and say, like, oh, at again, the ripe old age of we're not going to talk about that. I can go and try to, get put in there, raise my hand, pledge the oath and all that. But at the end of the day, I think that I can probably do more with my words, with how I type, and the conversations I can have to improve those who were able and who did raise their hand and pledge to protect this country. And for me, looking at their medical care, this has historically been something that has always been devalued in America, and it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
I've got friends that have been on and off TRICARE at different points in time, either through marriage or by themselves. And there are aspects of it that work really well, but one thing that we can't escape is when it has utterly failed.
Yeah,
definitely. Now, luckily, we have seen the passage of like the Mission Act, which was a huge victory. But real even quick, today,
what is the Mission Act?
So in really broad terms, because I don't want to get too bogged down.
No, you're good. You're good.
Too early in the show. It was set up as a way that veterans could get the healthcare that they needed through alternative means instead of just going through the VA.
That's so important. And yeah. I wanted to highlight this really quickly because as we go through this, right, this was an admittance by government that what they've been doing for our veteran community isn't up to snuff, and that it can be provided better in other means. And so the Mission Act, that's something that we'll dive into that a little more. But I wanted to highlight that real quick, and then I'll let you continue on. Sorry about that.
Yeah. But even today, we're seeing that the VA is still just not implementing it the way that it should be, the way that it was written.
Yeah.
And that has been a real problem. This is a program, the VA as a whole was intended to come in and it was supposed to care for our veterans, but we're seeing what we see with government institutions, and that is it becomes more about keeping jobs in line, nobody getting fired, nobody getting arrested. Even if you have cases where a veteran, God forbid, literally dies in a waiting room, waiting for care. That's nobody in America is going to say that's okay. Yeah. Absolutely nobody is going to say that's okay. And with the Mission Act, it allowed other healthcare providers to start stepping in and help take up the slack. And I wish the VA weren't trying to obstruct and weren't implementing, but the unfortunate reality is that's what they've been choosing to do. So it's up to good watchdogs, good legislative advocacy to go in, do the conversations, the hard conversations, yeah, and see that our veterans are cared for in the right way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's been so many different wake-up calls that I would say around the nation around veteran healthcare, veteran just way of life, right? 22 veterans per day are committing suicide, and that's yeah, one of those things that just shocks people, right? Such a small portion of our country is having such a high suicidality rate. How much of that ownership is on the VA for lack of care and lack of treatment, because we do have veterans that were created, and certainly this isn't supposed to be guided as a discussion centered around like why are we having so many veterans created, or like why are we damaging our veterans, but how do we, when it comes to the VA healthcare system, how do we make them whole again? How do we make them be able to prosper? And I think that, the notes that you're saying here is that in large parts, it's just not up to snuff.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
exactly
hurts.
it. It's just not up to snuff right now, and when we start diving into really complex issues like suicide, even just like mental health in general, homelessness, which oftentimes is directly related to mental health, you know, these are not ankle deep subjects. These are really, really difficult subjects that you have professionals who have gone through huge amounts of expense and personal time just trying to better understand the subject matter so that they can provide the care that these veterans deserve.
Yeah.
And, you know, to sit here and give like a quick 1 minute talk or even an hour long talk on any one of these subjects that we just brushed up against is a disservice.
Oh yeah.
These are very, very convoluted, very complex issues that are super individualized for each and every military veteran that is out there that is afflicted by these things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's this is almost like a very good kind of, as you pose it, it's like a nice skim over a lot of things where we're addressing some deep rooted issues that we have for our communities, and it highlights that you can't have a centralized planning on these, and they're just going to delegate or legislate a response for all of these things. And so it's so incredibly important that when we talk about, like, just specifically on the healthcare aspect of what our veteran community is facing, right? We're there from the VA. I believe that the national average wait time is roughly at least double of what you would see from a private specialist, if not longer. You're having incredibly long wait times to be seen for things that could be deemed urgent, depending on which region of the country you're in. So there's a lot of non-care that's been going on, and that's, to circle back to the Mission Act, that's why this was so important for so many communities. It was like, if the VA is not able to provide this for you in a reasonable, I believe that it was, if it wasn't in a reasonable amount of time, or if it was an unreasonable distance, you could go somewhere else, and the VA would pay for it and give you that opportunity. Am I misquoting that, or am I
No, and actually, I have the VA's Mission Act website pulled up here, and right there on the page, they specify, if you're not within a 30-minute average drive time for primary care or a 60-minute average drive time for specialty care. Let's hold the phone just right there, though. We're talking about 30 minutes. They're saying if a veteran is not within 30 minutes of a primary care, I guess,
VA
physician,
clinic, yeah.
facility, like however you want to describe it, if they're not within 30 minutes, I live in Birmingham, Alabama, Central Alabama. It's not a gigantic town. I mean, I love it, but it's not a huge place by any means. 30 minutes is like where my parents live.
Yeah.
They're really not that far away. So, 30 minutes out in the country, we can be talking about some serious distance. 30 minutes within a metropolitan area, though, I mean, look at it from the VA perspective, the amount of hospitals that they would have to buy to build, the number of physicians and nurses and admins that they would have to staff.
Whew.
The reality is they're not going to be able to do that.
No.
And I can sit here and cast vision for, oh, this is how I would solve it, or this is what I would say is important, and this is a really convenient way to do it. But at the end of the day, the point remains that the VA is just not equipped to handle this kind of an issue. And when we saw the passage of the Mission Act, we saw the government as a whole admitting this is a problem. We're not equipped for this. And so what we're going to do is turn to, it's not a great marketplace. Like, healthcare in America is not a great marketplace at any, by any stretch of the imagination. But at the end of the day, like, it's getting them closer to what a real market option would be.
Yeah,
And that
it
is
gives you
finding
more
care outside of the
options, and
system.
yeah, giving you more options is never a bad thing.
Right.
And that's so, to allude for you in the audience. I've had that discussion in the past about certificate of need laws, about our healthcare system, and it is absolutely universal for the most part that everyone agrees that the healthcare system here in America is not working for mainstream society. And so what is the better way, right? That's why we discussed that in the previous episode. So I would encourage you guys, if you guys missed that, go back and check that one out. But yeah, no, it's absolutely right that if the VA is just not quite cutting it for so many people, how do we, bring them into a freer market? Like, I don't know how to properly pose that, but a less disadvantaged market, I guess.
Well, that's for sure. It's certainly disadvantaged. That is for sure. And you were kind of talking a little bit earlier about how top-down solutions just don't work.
Yeah.
And what's the answer to that? When we're looking at it, what we really want to see is we want to see ground-up solutions. What does that look like in America? It looks like nonprofits and other organizations that are going out there and they are meeting the needs on the ground that they are seeing. And that is a revolutionary idea, especially in today's America, where we can clearly see the march of socialism happening and people that are clamoring for top-down solutions, regardless of what that past history looks like.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't mention different memes, but I posted one to my Instagram and Facebook stories the other day, and it was somebody comparing socialism, and it's failed in the past, but it's kind of like a fancy baked good. And then at the bottom of it, it showed piles of bones from, I never got which country it was from. It was clearly from a socialist revolution that ended up claiming a whole lot of lives.
Yeah.
With the little tagline on it, "Oh no, I burned the souffle again." But enough of me ranting. In today's world, when we see people that are clamoring for top-down solutions, all they want is for the government to intervene and do this and do that and hurt people, which we'll get on that maybe a little later. Going out, seeing a need and meeting a need is something that is truly revolutionary.
Yeah.
And there are organizations out there that are doing this with veteran specific issues that, they're doing it without any government help. They're picking up the slack where the government has failed. And those kind of orgs really and truly are the ones that we should be thanking more than anyone else.
Do you have any in mind that the audience may be interested in?
I think I might have a few. It really depends what we're talking about. One thing, I have a little bit of a lobbying background. So I do believe in reforming government and, stalking the halls, really and truly, like cornering representatives and senators when they're not expecting it. But reforming government is really a key for that. So you do have organizations like Concerned Veterans for America that really work towards that. We also have Concerned Veterans for America Foundation, which is all about connecting and educating and empowering veterans. So if you're out there and you're saying like, hey, I really want to see this change go through, or I'm a veteran and, who can I turn to and get some of that training, get some of that education, and then connect with other people that are out there doing big things. The CVA Foundation is another great option.
On that note, before you progress on, so
Yep.
the Concerned Veterans for America, or CVA, recently had a moderately big guy. I don't know how to describe him. Well, he's more referenced as Tasha's husband. Tasha's husband came out to CVA and had a great time. This just speaks to what CVA does, right? So if you can get Spike Cohen come out there and talk about ending the wars, you can talk about the veteran suicide rate, you could talk about the healthcare system. When you can find an organization that is out there for the veterans, that is able to reach libertarians, that is able to reach Republicans, able to reach Democrats and say, we're here for the veteran community, let's build those bridges and do this in the pursuance of these goals, that's something that we should all be aware of, and we should all be trying to lean into and find ways of how can we help. If you guys are passionate like I am, or like Sean is, or like many of us are, on the idea that veterans are people too and they need to be taken care of, and that's something that I'm willing to put my effort into and behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd certainly encourage Tasha's husband. I'm presuming I'm getting that right. If Spike's out there going around and talking about ending endless wars and all that, the only request that I'll have is that he just keeps his shirt on while he's doing it. That's the only thing that I ask for.
I don't know. That might still be too soon. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to say it anyway. Or I guess I already did.
No, it's okay. I love it. I love it. I'll make sure to send the message over. But yeah, no, it's, I mean, not to puff my chest out at all, but I've taken some of Spike's talking points on those issues. I don't know why I need to puff my chest out on that, but no, it's good because yes, he is absolutely going out there, and CVA has been one of those welcoming groups that, being able to link arms with and make that impact. So we have groups out there pushing for the legislative side, pushing for the cultural side, pushing for societal change, for a perspective difference on our veteran community, because I think that one thing that we should be highlighting here is how people view veterans. This is something that does really become a mixed bag for a lot of people. Because you can see some people that see veterans as towards the right side of the spectrum, where they're kind of more looked at as more as a hero. They're doing this for noble causes. They're doing this in the best reasons. Where somebody who may be more towards the left on some of these issues can see them as something a lot worse. But then we also have the homeless population, and we know the stigmas that get surrounded with that. And so there's a lot of different ways that we're looking at this. And so for the cultural side of things, right, how do we help? How do we educate? How do we grow? How do we, as you alluded to, or as you said, there's a mental health aspect to this for a lot of the veterans. We have this societal thing that we have to look at, we have to change. And I realize we're kind of somewhat getting on time. With only 18 minutes left before we have a Clubhouse after this, guys. If you guys are not on Clubhouse, get on over there to Clubhouse, 9 p.m. Eastern. You'll see me and Sean be able to talk a little bit more. You guys can ask questions as well over there. But so we have a lot of a social stigma when it comes to veterans that needs to we need to be able to address that. And so I was wondering if in your experiences, if you've interacted with people across that spectrum, and how you've been able to bring people back to an empathetic view on this issue.
One thing I love about our military, and when you really get to know people that have served, is just really how diverse the military is. Jason is obviously a very, very strong libertarian. He is out there with his views. He supports his party in a huge way.
I'm a communist. What are you talking about? You heard it here first, boy.
For me personally, I'm not a member of that party. I am a Republican. I'm part of my county exec. Have been involved there for years. That's actually how I got my start in politics. Was I just went and showed up at a Young Republicans event. I showed up early, I got to know people, and I volunteered. And as I continued to meet more and more veterans, I'm just so aware of how complex the reality on the ground is for those people who are in service or have left the service afterward. And one thing that really amazes me is I've got a some pretty close friends here in town. Actually, I think I may be part of his legislative district, but he's very much on the left, and he's a Marine. And this guy, you know, as far as like a left, well, I guess he is like a Democrat's Democrat. But one thing that is for sure for both him and his husband is that they are absolutely and totally dedicated to helping other veterans. And, you know, try as I might, you know, whenever we're talking to them, I get all sorts of digs on my personal political affiliation and my involvement. But when I hear these guys talk about the people that they have saved, the people that they have lost, which is absolutely heartbreaking, in the veteran community, it becomes clear that our military, the folks that are actually serving, regardless of what we may want to project onto them, at the end of the day, they're still individuals. And like all of us, they have very nuanced individual views. And so, you know, my party is especially known for just presuming that the military is, of course, it's conservative. Of course, they're Republican.
Yeah.
But the reality is so much more nuanced. And none of that, none of their political views, I have ever seen impact how they choose to serve their fellow vets.
Yeah.
You know, and mental health is a huge part of this. Yeah, I guess Jason, you and I love going off on tangents. You know, a while
tangents.
back, yeah, you know, a couple of years back, for folks that don't know, Jason and I were hanging out in his hometown. And I swear to you, after like 6 hours of talking, we didn't actually finish the first 3 points that we were trying to address. You know, it was just like a nonstop rabbit hole. And it was like one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
I think the only thing that we finished were the beers that we had.
Yeah, I finished a couple of those that night. But, you know, earlier we're talking about orgs that, you know, are out there solving needs, you know, meeting needs, ones that the government frankly can't solve or has just shown that they're just not equipped for it. Another great one is Headstrong. They deal with PTSD and other mental health challenges at no cost. They're a great one. One thing that I've personally seen is just the power of working out with people and being physically connected with other people. And so anytime I see anybody that's out there like pushing for like workouts and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, this person's really got it going on. There's Catch a Lift Foundation, and they are trying to provide a way for veterans to connect with a daily WOD with adaptive options for fitness. And that right there, like if you have something that specifically speaks out to the veteran community and is promoting fitness, all the benefits that we see.
Yeah. Uh-oh, you're muted. Uh-oh. Let me check the Zoom. No? I've just lost audio. Oh.
Aha.
Oh, we're back now.
There we go. But you know, anytime you get people that are just picking up weight, moving it however they like, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you can build that and build an individual community around you, even if it's through a networked option like online, those things can save lives. Those things can change lives. You know, it's not just about, oh, is this person alive or dead? It's what are they doing with their time? How are they really getting into it? And for me personally, I'm a huge fan of pick up the heavy thing and then put it back down again.
Yeah, I still see, I still have like night terrors of like watching you like make because you were building a home gym for a while, and I remember seeing that, and I was just like, I don't want to go to the gym ever again. I need to get back to that mindset. But yes, so there's so many different organizations working through different lenses of being able to help with mental health, being able to work with getting people just kind of connected, and through those connections, I mean, the growth that people are facing, the help that they're receiving, and certainly I know that it's true. I refuse to, because I'm fat, white, and out of shape. But the benefits of working out and putting your body through that those are all fantastic things. So at the end of this, if you guys go over to muddywatersmedia.com, you guys find this episode, I will be taking all of those organizations. I'll put those into the show notes so you guys will be able to see those. But you guys have to go over there, because I'm not going to put it in for all the show notes across the different platforms. I love you guys, but not that much. Just kidding.
Hey man, it's a lot of work, you know.
I do want to highlight something that from a comment section, just because this is this hurt my heart reading it. But Mr. Just Because said that the date is coming up. I would like to say RIP to Captain Russell G. Seeger, killed Fort Hood 2009, his PTSD counselor. This hurts me in so many different ways, because I have PTSD. While mine is not directly from military interactions, having somebody who like that, I can only imagine how much that hurt. And so just one life, this is literally the importance of like this entire conversation, is that each one of these veterans, when we talk about the statistic of 22 veterans per day, when we talk about the veteran healthcare system failing people, when we talk about the system being top-down approached and not serving the interest of our veteran community, we are left with so many of these individuals who have made a huge impact already, and that because of these systems failing, limit the impact that they can do going forward. And so this is really one of those driving factors of why we're engaged, why we're pushing forward, because of these lives are so incredibly important to each and every one of us. Another one of those fantastic tangents of going off away from the points that we were trying to make. So we have 9 minutes left of this show, and welcome to Muddy Waters Media. But I have one quick question for you, to bring it to current events. We're gonna have to skip a couple of the topics we were planning on, but
is our way, man. This is our way.
This is the way it's got to be. A quick thing. So recently, I know that I've heard you speak on the Afghanistan situation a little bit. This was a couple years back, clearly prior to the recent events of the pullout and everything else. I haven't been able to ask you this, so I'm asking you private, one-on-one, no one else can hear us. What went through Sean Grehalva's head as this was unfolding, as it was coming out that the pullout was happening, of the countless people being stranded, of the circumstances of the equipment, everything else? What was going through your head? What was kind of the narrative that came out from you?
I want to make sure that I answer this right.
Yeah, this one was one that would stumble me. So I love that you're giving it its due diligence.
The first thought that went through my head was just seeing the huge amount of humanitarian horror that was going on.
Yeah.
Last week, one of the folks I was hanging out with had been in Afghanistan. We'll just say very recently, for all sorts of reasons that I really don't think that I need to disclose. I ended up having the opportunity to sit and talk with two guys who had spent significant amounts of time in Afghanistan and just hearing their perspective on it. I heard all sorts of crazy stories during that time. Folks that were at the very front lines seeing the absolute worst of it. And one of those folks, the 13 members of the military that ended up passing away due to that suicide bomber, one of those folks had actually served with a couple of the military members that passed away that day. The thing that I grappled onto was this story that came out, and you could see the videos where I can't remember which branch of service he was in, but there was this guy that was going to Afghan children. The video went super viral, streaming all over the place, and he was handing out waters, making these kids laugh, just taking their mind off of the horror that was surrounding them. We were coming up on 20 years in country, and we were watching it fall within a matter of weeks. And I later saw that the same individual that was making these kids laugh, handing out water bottles, was escorting the remains of one of his service members back home. And the Facebook story that was posted to that was more than enough to make me cry several times.
Yeah.
And I know several other people that have been involved that I spoke with about it. And everyone, regardless of color, regardless of age, they were able to connect with the humanity in those moments, and that man showed so deeply. I've never known that guy's name or anything like that, but at the end of the day, the work that's being done out there and the people that were putting their lives on the line, sacrificing their bodies to injuries later or all sorts of stuff, it touches you, and it touches you in a really, really major way.
Yeah. No, that was incredibly impactful. And I think that it really was, that is such a reflection, or an image, if you will, of the entire attempt there, right? Because you had so many troops there that were trying to do right, trying to do good, and trying to help serve, trying to serve the communities there, trying to protect America's interests. And we had been there, as you said, 20 years in country, trying to do something so much bigger than themselves. Mm-hmm. And to watch this catastrophically fall apart because of an inability to pull out with any kind of care, without any kind of understanding, without any kind of forethought. I mean, really, after hearing some of the discussion points from some of those people within the administration on how they were handling it, there was a lack of humanity when it came to addressing this whole circumstance. And I think that, you have somebody like that individually we're talking about, that just it tears up your inside, rips you out, and it really does give you that gut check of, whew, like, I'm not ready for that kind of humanity right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to handle, for sure. At the end of the day, I think that the buck stops with Biden. We can apologize, we can, cover it up, which seems to have been his approach ever since. But at the end of the day, it was his call on whether or not those troops were given the cover that they needed to withdraw safely.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was his call that put them into jeopardy. Now, I am very, very glad that we are out of Afghanistan, that we are no longer trying to nation build an unruled people, historically unruled. Like,
this
you
is
know,
this is the nation that is the historically the empire ender. Like, nations
and when
go there and just they're decimated because of Afghanistan.
yeah, and most people stop with like the Soviet Union, the USSR. They stopped there, but like when you go back and you look, it took 900 years for that country to embrace Islam. 900 years. Genghis Khan himself, like the Khans, could not subjugate Afghanistan. Like, just stay out. Just go away. Just walk away.
Yeah, and to your point of, you know, this really does fall on Biden, right? The whole plan of or the lack of plan of just try to pull some people out, try to figure out what to do. We have this deadline, we gotta get people out. There's still people left there to this day right now. We don't know who's there. We kind of have mismanaged that. We have equipment that was left that was instantly handed over to our enemies in the area,
who then paraded them on every platform that they could. Yeah, I mean, they've got machine guns there that, like, woo,
that you and I cannot have because we would be a danger to society. But
hey, let's go hand them to the Taliban.
Yeah. So for me, like, a quick snapshot of my thought was get the civilians out, get the military out, and then blow up the equipment that's left over. You have the equipment. Why do you want to blow this up? Is because it's so costly to bring all of that stuff back. It's just cheaper just to bomb it and just say, look, everyone evacuate from these areas. If you're in the area, I'm sorry, we're blowing up the equipment. You're going with it. Get the civilians out because they have not written that check in the same way that the military has, and then get the military out, give cover, give protections. And you know, there's so many diplomats as well in the area, so many people that had been there in service of the military being translators. And yes, you could talk about how some translators, right, this was revealed during the Afghanistan papers, how they took advantage of the ignorance of the Americans and were bringing up the trades, like bringing up the value of trade, and they were taking cuts of it, and they were becoming very, very profitable. But there were some that were good translators that were doing it there for the good intentions, and these people that need to be taken care of. And these were also people that were forgotten about by the Biden administration. And so there's a lot of clunkiness and failures that were there. But as we both have said, you know, it's right for us to be out. It's just a matter of how we got out. That was such a tragedy. We're already over on time, but I want to give you this because I've got to punt this to you, because this is the thing that really wets your sandwich. That's the one I picked. That's the one I picked.
That's terrible, because now I'm just thinking of a wet sandwich all the time.
Yeah, and it's terrible, isn't it?
It's awful.
So the thing that's been bothering you the most lately, it's
Fauci and those daggum beagles, man. Like, oh my God.
I want to give you
I'm not even going to let you finish your sentence right now.
I want you to rant. I want you to take a couple minutes, and then we will real quick before he hits his rant, make sure you guys if you guys have not already downloaded the Clubhouse app, we will be on over there with the wonderful, amazing Jess Mears, doing a little recap.
Wait, Jess is going to be there?
Yeah, Jess is going to be there. Yeah. So, and of course, Sean Grehalva will be there as well. She's probably already going to be texting me in a moment and being like, where the hell are you? But make sure you guys download the Clubhouse app. We'll get you guys over there. I'll post a link in the Muddy Waters Facebook group. But go ahead. Let me hear about Fauci and his beagles, his loving beagles that he loves so very, very much, right?
Oh, yeah. He loves them so much. So, so very much. You know, it just, when I think about government, what comes to mind is just how little care is shown to life. You know, life is precious. It is so incredibly important, whether it's a human life, whether it's an animal life. You know, my son, his name's Jacob, he's 7, absolutely a beautiful, beautiful child. he loves animals, and he will tell you any day of the week that he prefers dogs to humans. And most days I can't really blame him. But no matter how much I'm like, no, human life has value too. But all I could think when I was reading about just these FOIA requests, these FOIA docs that came out, is just how little care is actually given by the government. The willingness to subject animals and then just, oh yeah, and then afterwards we euthanize them. And we're talking about, in one case there were 6 beagles, but of course the fact checkers come out and they say, oh well, they didn't cut their vocal cords, they didn't stick their heads in a mesh container filled with sandflies that have a dangerous disease that can kill them if untreated. All these fact checkers really wet my sandwich as well, but you still have somebody willing to sign off on having 12 animals have their life ended well before their natural end would come. And I get animal testing and that this is just the reality of it. But at some point it's like, I have 3 golden retrievers. This makes me want to start adopting beagles. I mean, really and truly it does, because the number of times I read a fact-checking article that beagles are considered like the standard for like a dog breed stand-in for human beings. And I'm not saying that we should be testing on human beings or anything like that, but we're not talking mice, we're not talking rats or even chimps at this point. I mean, we're talking about a family pet.
Yeah.
And it's just an utter disrespect for life and humanity and just the reverence that we ought to be giving life.
So if you guys are unaware of this for somehow, you're better off not knowing this before today. But make sure you guys go out and check out Fauci and his puppies, the Beagle puppies, testing and everything else. There's plenty of information out there to go read up on, and as Sean has already said, there's fact checkers out there trying to pull you away from what is being shown and being said. So you're more than welcome to read everything, read the fact checkers, read what you find, and you can come up with your own conclusions. As for me and Sean, we are devastated and torn apart, but we do have to get on over there to the clubhouse, guys. So I love you guys all very much. Make sure you guys tune in for Muddy Waters for the rest of the week. On Tuesday, we've got Spike and Matt from Muddy Waters of Freedom, where they traverse those muddy waters. Wednesday will be My Fellow Americans with Spike Cohen and his amazing, beautiful, gorgeous intellectual guest. I hope that they are all of those things. Thursday night will be the Writer's Block with Matt Wright. And of course, Friday night, from Bayous to Igloos, you've got Cajun and Eskimo Libertarian. Probably bringing back the Muddied Nat Geo. So it'll be a good time. But without further ado, let's get on over to the clubhouse. Sean, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I look forward to having you on for your second 10,336th, I think that's what I said it was, episode. It was
absolutely, man. We'll have to do this again. And thank you very much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. All right. I'll catch you on Clubhouse right after this.
See you there.
See you.